What's good, y'all? It's Chenoa from NYC, and today we're gonna talk about Ginny and Georgia. Ginny and Georgia revolves around Georgia, who's a single mother from the South, her two kids, Virginia, aka Ginny, and her son Austin, who's low-key MIA for like most of the episodes. Georgia becomes a widow out of nowhere, so she relocates her entire family to New England, up in Massachusetts to be exact, and attempts to make life normal for her kids. Georgia is definitely the type of person to stand out, whether it's because of her fashion choices, which I do like, the contrast between her hair and her eyebrows, or her accent.
Gilmore Girls, but with bigger boobs.
I actually really like her character because she's a writer for her kids. Like, she's actually about it. She'll do anything to hold her kids down. But for some reason, especially before the show actually came out, they made it seem like she's a wild card whose daughter is more mature than she is. But once I watched the show, I was like, wait, I've been bamboozled. Like, that's not the case at all. She has a mysterious past, and throughout the series, we see that she's way more street smart than we think she is. Her daughter, Ginny, she's like 15 or so when the show starts, and she's generally annoyed with her mom because, you know, they keep moving around, and for that reason, she struggles with making friends. But some way, somehow, despite this flaw, she gains a friend group mad fast at her school and then gets like 2 love interests in the first 3 episodes, but we'll get to that later. Ginny's also biracial. Her mom's obviously white and her dad's black, but she still keeps in touch with her father. I actually really do like her relationship with her father. So again, Ginny gives off that vibe that her mom is reckless and immature, but I don't really see that in the show. If anything, she's the reckless one. Like, look, I understand that constantly being uprooted sucks, and I'm on Ginny's side for that. You want to have some place to call home, but that doesn't mean that your mom is a danger to you and your brother, which seems to be her vibe. Let me know if I'm bugging. Speaking of her brother, Austin, he's like 6 or something. He's so adorable, but again, like, he's barely in the series, so like, what was the point? So now that you got the backstory, let's get into my thoughts. There's spoilers ahead, so keep that in mind and let's get into it.
Or this stuff made New York City. New York City.
Quick acknowledgements, things I just want to point out that I do like, or I just want to mention. Number one, immediately I noticed that 2 of the girls in Ginny's friend group are from Degrassi Next Class, which I did watch back in like 2017 when it came out, and I was devastated when they took it off, but I thought that was cool. Not to stir up anything, but like the father, Ginny's dad, especially when he was a teenager in the flashbacks, he's fine. I'm sorry. That man is fine. Like, I was living for those flashbacks because I was like, this is a beautiful man, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna keep it short. The next thing I want to point out is that Maxine, or Max, one of Ginny's friends, her father in the show is deaf, and despite that, they still had him be part of the conversations when he was around, and it actually made some of the scenes more humorous to me, but in a genuine way, not in a way where he was like a punchline or a prop, because like, that's not funny. So yay, inclusivity. Now let's get into what you came here for, which is the mess. So number one, some of the scenes just felt way too long. I found myself watching the show on 1.25 speed because I just want to get through it faster. Like, these episodes are like an hour long, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, when is this gonna be over? Or it will be an hour long and I feel like I haven't really learned much about a character despite it being like 60 minutes of my life that just went by. Anyway, let's get on to the bigger issues. So most of Ginny's inner turmoil revolves around her struggling to find herself and figure out who she is, and that's fine. She's a teenager. What is a coming of age show without a little bit of identity crisis? You know, usually most teens in these types of shows have a thing, like maybe it's skateboarding or singing or drawing or acting or whatever, but sometimes they don't have a thing, and that's fine too. Like, let's normalize not always having a thing so we don't pigeonhole ourselves or be down on ourselves when other people are doing things and we're not. Whatever, let me get off this tangent. Anyway, I feel like that's very realistic to not have a thing. However, it feels like they framed Ginny's thing to be writing, and it felt like it came out of nowhere. Perhaps it wasn't really out of nowhere, maybe I wasn't paying attention, but it didn't feel like they were actually committed to that. In one of the episodes, Ginny's dad, he's so fine. Anyway, sorry y'all. Ginny's dad took her to Boston to go to a slam poetry show, and he actually went on stage and recited his own poem that I thought was really, really sweet. And so again, I'm glad that she has a great relationship with her dad, unlike Austin. But again, the whole like I'm a writer thing just kind of seemed forced on her character. Maybe it was to show us how smart or intellectual she was. Like, I don't know, it just wasn't It wasn't giving. If writing was truly like a big thing for her, it would have been kind of cool to see her use writing to help her make sense of everything around her. But like often, not just like an essay one time where you're like, who am I? Where do I belong? Like, no. Maybe it's like doing poetry like every once in a while because you're frustrated, or doing journal entries, or short stories where like she writes a version of herself who has the life that she's always wanted. Like something like that would have been like, okay, so she's really a writer like that. Like she should go to college for this or get a scholarship, you know? I'm not trying to be hard on Ginny. I'm just like, I don't know. Like she was getting on my nerves, y'all. I feel like she was kind of harsh. Ginny's mom, Georgia, strays away from the stereotype of her being a reckless mom who only cares about herself. Like she's literally nowhere near that. Literally, her man died. She moved her kids to a new city. She got a nice house, enrolled her kids into school, and finessed a stable job with the mayor or a mayor candidate in 3 business days. Give me another fictional parent who's reckless and immature and doesn't care about their kids who would do that. Oh, okay. I actually really hate it in shows and movies when characters choose to not share very important information with other characters, because I feel like it's cheap and it's lazy. It creates an obvious conflict that could have been avoided if the second character would have already had the tea from the jump. This show was actually going in that direction until Georgia revealed to Ginny that she done seen some things, she done been through some things, and you know, she's experienced quite a bit of trauma. Halfway through the series, they have a little bit of a heart-to-heart, and I'm thinking that we're good because I'm like, okay, Ginny understands why her mom is always on the go. She's been on her own since she was like almost Ginny's age. So when you had to get out the mud to keep it simple, you just move a certain way. So I'm thinking that we're good, but somehow we're not. Ginny takes it in stride, but for some reason she still doesn't connect her mom's past to the reason why her mom might move weird. Now, let's get on to the thing that you actually came here for, and that's race. I feel like race was touched on in such a lackluster way. It was just not giving at all. And this is ridiculous because these episodes are like an hour each. They never left enough room to have an adequate conversation about race. The main black character in the show, besides Ginny and then her dad, but that doesn't really count, is Bracia. Bracia is an older student at Ginny's school. She pops up randomly, like every once in a while. It's not often. And we never really see any other black characters unless Bracia's around. So if Ginny's near Bracia, like in a lunchroom or something, then you'll see other black characters or other characters of color rather. Now again, if I'm bugging, remember I watched this on 1.25 speed, but I don't think I'm wrong. The scene that really did it for me was in the final episode. So Ginny endures another microaggression-filled encounter with her problematic teacher in class, and understandably she just walks out of the class and goes to the bathroom to cool off. While she's looking in the mirror, we hear the toilet flush and then we hear a stall door open. On everything I love, as soon as I heard the stall door open, I knew it was Bracia. There's nobody else that it could have been, especially because like her friends were they were kind of beefing, so it's not like they were gonna run after her. Even if her friends weren't beefing with her, which I don't come and say, because like weird race related things would happen here and there and they wouldn't really say anything, you know? So I knew it was Bracia. She pops out, lo and behold, it's her. So now in 3 minutes, and I'm probably dragging it, but 3 minutes while they're in the bathroom together, Bracia allows Ginny to confide in her, and then Bracia gives Ginny some pointers, and then she schools Ginny on race relations and how they experience life differently, because obviously Ginny is biracial and she's fair skinned, and Bracia is a darker complexion. She's unambiguously black, meaning if she were walking down the street, nobody would be like, oh, like, is she black or white? Like, she's obviously black, right? Okay. Then she grabs a paper towel, dries her hands, and leaves. Okay, I guess. Like, I don't know. I felt like it was just very you know? Like, I could see if Ginny and Bracia's conversations were sprinkled throughout, like organically throughout the season, but y'all got her in the bathroom doing the majority of her lines for the season, and then that's it. Like, it kind of gave me like, what is it, like the magical Negro? I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm just like being extra mad at this, but like, y'all did not have to do that. Like, it didn't have to be like that at all. It kind of, yeah, magical Negro. It is a stock character from America. We've seen these kind of characters before. I'll put some examples on the screen. They usually possess special insight or mystical powers. It's been a long-standing tradition in American fiction. Now, obviously, Bracia does not possess mystical powers. But in regards to what she serves to Ginny, in my opinion, she provides a special insight that obviously Ginny was not aware, because her mom is not going to tell her about this. Her mom is white. You know, she can only do so much. She's not black. She doesn't know what it's like to be black. So Braysha kind of just comes up to just like, you know, let Ginny confide in her, give her some tea and tell her, you know, chin up. Then teach her like, you know, we are different because you are light skinned and mixed and I am not. And then that's it. Like, what's Braysha's favorite candy? Like, I want to know more about her. Anyway, I almost wish that they didn't even focus on race at all, just because it was just done in a way that it wasn't given much, they didn't give it much love, they didn't give it much attention. Even in Trinkets, which I also reviewed, was another Netflix show, I reviewed it last year if you're interested. We had a biracial character. She was fair skinned. They actually tried to have a conversation about race as well, and it was, I mean, again, it's not like the most profound thing in the world, but like it was something that made some ounce of sense. Those are my big criticisms, if you will, about the show. I'm sure there's more, but I kept it short because so many people have done videos about Ginny and Georgia. I don't need to do the most. Really quick before we end, I just want to get into my thoughts on her friends and her love interests, as well as Georgia, Ginny's mom's love interest. So let's get it. So together with the other three girls that Ginny squads up with, they create this group called Mang, which, I mean, okay, go off. I mean, I'm glad you got friends, okay? Max, who's the M in Mang, ridiculously overbearing. Like, very extra, but, you know, at least it was, like, nice to have the lesbian representation. And she has a girlfriend, or her love interest, rather, who's a whole senior. Because these girls are sophomores, just saying. Maybe that's not super weird, but the fact that it was reciprocated was a little bit weird. A lot of development happens between 10th and 12th grade, so the idea that like Max's love interest was not annoyed by her like 10th grade ways was like kind of interesting to me. I do kind of feel bad though, because she was on Degrassi Next Class and she was annoying on there too. Then we have Abby, who makes the A in Mang. Clearly she was going through it at home. We do see her engage in some practices that are not very healthy, and I was concerned. I would have wanted to see more about her, maybe her home life, her role within the friend group. I just wanted to learn more about why she is the way she is. Sometimes when she would interact with her friends, she would be snappy and rude and then immediately apologetic. Like there was this one time where she slapped one of her friends and I was like, that would have been the last day. That would have been let me not get violent, but like I'm like, that's a little weird. I've never done that to my friends or have had that done to me, but okay girl. I didn't really understand if like that was a comedic thing for Abby or something was like actually deeply wrong with her. And then again we have Nora, who's the N. I could be blanking right now, but kind of felt like she was normal, just because if you saw Degrassi Next Class, she was also in that show and she was wilding in that show. Like her character scared me, so I'm glad that she's in this show because she's kind of normal compared to that. But in general, when it came to Ginny's friends, it was kind of annoying to watch at times because there would be like a character going through real life situations and they would just write it off or just ignore it and instead focus on petty high school drama. And I'm just like, where's your guidance counselor at? Like y'all are kind of going through it. Now onto her love interests. Marcus, this is Maxine's twin brother. He's weird. He climbs through people's windows. You would think that Ginny, given her personality, would be on edge or guarded, but like, no, this is fine. In my opinion, his character was developed in a very weird way. Like obviously he's the outcast, he's to himself, he's kind of a weirdo.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm weird. I'm a weirdo.
And that's really just it. I guess that we're supposed to just chalk up his personality to the fact that he experienced loss. I mean, besides that, like, yes, he is attractive. I don't really see any redeeming qualities. They do have chemistry, him and Ginny, but it's not really giving me anything. If I'm bugging, let me know, please, because I could be being very harsh. Ginny's other love interest, who was her actual boyfriend, which is Hunter, the idea of them was cute. After that stupid, like, mixed Olympics argument that they had, he lost me. Like, I was like, you're wilding right now. I didn't even want to touch on the whole, like, argument they had because I feel like a lot of people were going to talk about that. There were a few times though that his male friends were either shady or kind of rude to Ginny, and I don't feel like he checked them. He was kind of just like, yeah, those are my friends and they're trash. I'm sorry that they're trash. And I'm just like, bro, that's your girl. Like, you gotta do a little more than that. If Ginny has to have a love interest next season, I want it to be somebody new. I don't want it to be Hunter's a dub. Like, we're good on Hunter. Goodbye. Marcus, maybe, but I just feel like it's a convenience thing. Like, let's get somebody else. Do you think that's a good idea? I do. So there's that. Lastly, with Georgia, you know, she has her child's father, who's Ginny's dad. He's a cool dude. Then you have the mayor. He's cool. Neither of her love interests seem to have very bad qualities, because if they did, then I would be like, your child's father is trash, so go for the mayor, or vice versa. But that's not the case, so I'm gonna let her handle that herself. The only other person who kind of got on my nerves was Joe. He met Georgia a really long time ago when they were teenagers. I think she was like on the run and he was on a class trip, and they met at a rest stop. She gave him a pair of Ray-Bans. They talked for a little bit, and then he went on his trip and she went on her way. For some reason, he does not remember her at all. Like, Shorty left you so many clues. How did you not recognize Georgia? Who else you met in Massachusetts that you met in your whole life with a country accent like Georgia's? Tell me. With dark eyebrows and beach blonde hair? Who else? Like, literally, when they would interact, I thought that he was pretending to not remember her to help her or something. So then when he did finally remember her down the line, he wants to be in his bag, he wants to be sad, and I'm just like, are you serious? Like, what was the point of that? Like, I don't get it. So we finish off the season with Ginny making a very rash decision to dip with her brother on a motorcycle. I get it. You feel frustrated. You feel confused, lied to, blah, blah, blah. Your friends have turned their back on you. And in your eyes, your mom is like not a fit parent. So she's like, you know what? Escape is my only choice. I'm actually more interested in seeing what's going to happen with Georgia. She's been finessing her way through life. And I get it, girl. You know, you gotta be street smart. But just when we think she's finally in the clear, it looks like she's about to get caught up again. So I'm actually more interested in what's going to happen with Georgia. But anyway, those are all my thoughts about Ginny and Georgia. Very, very late, I know, but here nevertheless. If you stuck with me this long, I thank you for hanging out with me. Put all your thoughts down below. Tell me if I'm bugging, if I have some bad takes, I want to know, or if you agree, that's cool too. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
All right, say bye to the people.
Bye to the people.